I would like to welcome to the stage Mika.
Hi.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, remember, I'm asking the questions, but you guys can as well. We want to have your voices heard, so make sure you ask questions for Mika to answer after the 20 minutes. So let's get started.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Okay, so I was 13 when I first started a blog, and at the time it was just a hobby, and I went on to make YouTube videos later in school. So I was kind of doing all of this whilst I was at school and still in the educational system. And as you can kind of imagine, because it was something a bit different, people kind of thought I was a bit weird, which I was, but I didn't have an amazing time in school. But like so many people, I felt I was just kind of stuck in that system, and I kind of looked for other things to give me a better sense on like my perception of reality and like confirm that what I was feeling wasn't crazy. So I started reading a lot of like self-help books, and I read into like spirituality. I discovered like philosophy and Buddhism, and like a kind of key theme in like all of those like topics is that reality is just a word, and it's like your perception of reality that makes you unique and special. So kind of with that like knowledge, I kind of saw through the kind of system that was kind of put in front of me of that, you know, I had to go to school and then I had to go to university so I could like get a job and make enough money to buy a house, to have a family, to then make more money to buy stuff for this house that I'm never in because I'm always at work. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. So I kind of just asked the universe for a sign, like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what is my purpose in this existence? And just before I was supposed to go to university, actually, that's when I got an email through to the business account I set up for my blog on YouTube. And it was a YouTube management who wanted to sign me. And that like flipped my world upside down. I thought like, wow, like I can actually pursue my hobby as a career. And so like that was my like first big risk. So I decided not to go to university, and the money that I put aside for uni, I used to go traveling instead. So I just packed all my bags at 18 as soon as I finished school, and I left and went traveling for 3 months by myself. And like that's when I finally found people I connected with.
Did you vlog it?
Yeah, and I like,
Awesome.
so I felt like I had like a place in the universe, and I was like, okay, I want to be a travel blogger at the time. But then, like all good things must come to an end. I ran out of money, and I had to go back home. And I was still living at home, so I took a 9 to 5 as a waitress in like a chain restaurant, and like it was good for a while. Like I was making more money than I knew what to do with because I was still at home. I had all this disposable income, but like the creative Mika inside me, who like was still blogging and making videos and trying to do that on the side because it was my passion, that me felt like suppressed. I felt myself stuck back in this system. So that was like time for my second big risk, and I like had a conversation with my parents, and I said, look, like this job is making me unhappy, and I feel like if I took this risk and I quit my job and tried to pursue YouTube full time, I feel like I could turn it into a career. And they didn't really understand at first. Like they could see the opportunities that I was starting to get from it because I was starting to make a little bit of money, but they didn't really understand what I was doing in my bedroom with a camera and a tripod, you know? I was kind of like, okay, you want to make videos for the internet for a living? Like, is that a thing? Because that generation, like, yeah, it wasn't even a thing. But YouTube became this big platform where people could make money. So being the amazing parents they were, they let me take that risk. And I kind of had to ask the universe for another sign. I was like, is this the right choice that I'm making? And that's when I signed my first big contract with The Body Shop, which is like a big ethical corporation. They do loads of beauty products and skincare. And that contract allowed me to move away from home and become independent. I bought my first flat in Bristol, or renting. And from then on, I've been totally self-employed. I've managed to find a way to make it work, and now it's my full-time job, and I love it. So like, that takes me to where I am here today.
That
on
is
the stage with you.
fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thanks.
So you've already talked about some of the challenges, but
Yeah.
what were the biggest ones that you had to overcome?
I think like being a young person and like having to take that risk when a lot of other people are telling you like you can't do it. Like my peers, like my teachers, everyone was telling me that like what I wanted to do creatively, it just like I wouldn't make any money. And I think that's so common with so many young people who want to pursue like creative careers, is that we're told at a very young age that the safe way to make money is the academic way. And that just wasn't where my passion lies. So I think like I just had to follow my heart, and taking those risks like was the most important and best thing I did for myself, because it's I guess I proved like younger me wrong, and I proved everybody else wrong. So yeah, I think that was the biggest challenge.
And how long ago did you take it full time?
So that was, I think it was 2 years ago. So it was
Okay.
just after I quit my job, and that's when I signed a contract with the Body Shop. So it's been 2 years now, I've been self-employed, and it's just been like the best years of my life. Like I really had no idea. If you told 13-year-old Mika that she'd be blogging and making videos for the internet for a living, like she wouldn't have believed you. But I feel like it's my dream job, and I feel like because I was so passionate and driven and wanted to make it work, it happened. Like, and I think that could be the case with anyone. Like, yeah.
That is awesome. So what is your definition of success? I mean, you're obviously
Yeah.
a very successful woman, but what would you define it as?
So I think success for me is not in material possessions. It doesn't like, it's something that I had to learn along the way, was it's not how many subscribers I have, it's not how much money I have in the bank. Like to me, like my success is the freedom to do what I love and to be creative and like hopefully inspire others. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to disconnect your ego from your sub-count.
Yeah, completely. And it's like, it's something that we're fed constantly, this idea of success is having loads of money, it's having like, you know, the best car, the biggest house. But like, it's not about that inevitably. Like, it's about what makes you happy. I mean, you can look at like, there are plenty of celebrities who will tell you like having loads of money and being famous is not everything. Like Jim Carrey did an amazing speech on YouTube, which you can find, where he says like, I wish everyone could be rich and famous and have everything they'd ever dreamed of, so they can realize it's not the answer, you know? And it's the same with like Bob Marley. There's like a famous interview with him where the interviewer asks him like, oh, like, are you a wealthy man? Are you rich? And he's like, what do you mean by riches? Like he says like, my richness is not in possessions, my richness is in life. And I think if you're doing something you love, then like that's all that matters, you know? As long as I'm making enough money to pay rent and travel and do the things I want to do, then that to me is being successful, is being happy and doing what you love.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself ever comparing yourself to others? Because it's a massive platform.
Yeah.
There are so many people doing so many different things.
Especially with social media, that's one of the tricky things, and it's something I had to overcome. Like, being like a really insecure teenager and like entering this world of social media, which is very competitive and it's very glamorized, and we're kind of constantly like, so even when we were growing up before kind of Instagram and all the other like Twitter, we still had like TV and magazines and like movies, but like you get to an age where you realize it's all kind of fake and it's like a big show, but then social media comes along and it's like you start comparing yourselves to, you know, real people. But what you have to remember is like when you start comparing yourself to other people, what you do in that moment is you totally discount everything that you've already achieved. Like everyone in here, like everyone, like you've shown up for yourself today. Like that means you believe you're worthy of success. So like you're already there. Like success is already like inside of you, you know?
Yeah, it's all about the journey as well, where you came from and how you've overcome obstacles as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a couple of people in the audience that want to know how to become a YouTuber, because it's kind of this dream job, but actually I think we can both confirm it's not that glamorous.
Yeah,
is
it's like 24/7 as well, because like being present on social media and making content, there's so much behind the scenes that happens. Like, I don't have a day off, per se. I feel like every day of the week is a weekend, but it's also a Monday, because I'm just constantly working. But what was the question again?
That's a great analogy, but I'd like some advice.
Okay,
for
advice
YouTubers.
on how to become a YouTuber. Okay, so I think you just have to start. Like, it's one of those things where you have to get the equipment, and you have to sit down, and you have to decide what you want to share with the world, and you have to believe that you can do it. And because it's not going to happen instantly, like I said, like, there's going back to the comparing yourself thing, you know, there's plenty of YouTubers and bloggers who started out maybe a couple years ago, and they're like way more successful than I am now. But I started when I was 13, and I followed it. I continued to do it because it was my passion. I loved it. I didn't think I could make any money out of it. So, like, I think enter YouTube in the state of mind, or like blogging in general, with the state of mind that, like, do it because you love it. And like, if you love something and you're so passionate about it, you become a master at that craft. People will pay you for that craft. And like, I'm not a master yet. I'm still learning every single day. But I do it because I love it, and just the fact that I make money out of it is just a bonus thing, you know?
So would you say you work more than the average person? I mean, how many hours?
No? I think it depends. It really depends. In the summer, I'm non-stop. I film at a lot of festivals, so there's like 4-day like stints where I'm filming at festivals, and then I come back. I've got to spend, you know, the next 3 days making content and like working with brands and like catching up with work before I go to the next one. I'm filming at the next one. So in the summer, it's definitely not like that. In the winter, I have a lot more time because there's not a lot of stuff going on in terms of like brand work. And that's where you kind of have to like motivate yourself. And so like this winter, I'm really focusing on like excelling in the content I'm making and making more of it and being consistent, because it's difficult being self-employed and being so young. Like, I am completely responsible for myself, so I have to really like pick myself up and be like, Mika, you're being lazy, or like, it's just, you have to find things that work for you to keep you motivated and keep you going. Like, I always write myself a to-do list every single day. Even if it's like the smallest things, say you're having like a rough week and you just need like simple things that like cook like one meal for yourself today, and then spend like so-and-so hours editing, and then like plan for like the future videos. So it's about being responsible for yourself and like learning how to deal with that. Like, especially as a young person, I know that it's so hard. It's so easy to get distracted, especially working on social media. And then, so I spend a lot of time on it. I just find myself just like browsing. I need to be like, Mika, you need to take yourself out of the virtual world. Yeah. Remember to be in the real world as well, because like this is where it's all happening. Like, this is what is truly important.
So you've got such a big audience. I mean, you've got more than, I think you've almost got twice Wembley Stadium. But then
crazy.
It's also kind of hard to put that into perspective and realizing that all of these people are waiting for content. Yeah. Do you ever get burnout?
I don't know, like, I do put a lot of pressure on myself, but I find myself getting, like, I'm very detached from, like, the number of people who watch it, like coming out here today. So I had a presentation, I had a speech, and I suffer with really bad anxiety. And even though I know this audience is, like, so accepting and loving, and I've been in this space, and I know nobody is judging you, like, my anxiety just got the better of me. I was having panic attacks backstage. So we came up with this, like, interview situation where because on YouTube, this is what I do. I freestyle, and like I'm more myself when I'm speaking from the heart. So I think, yeah.
You speak beautifully as well. You've done
Thank
such a good
you.
job. Okay, so I think the audience will have some questions for you as well, if we could get those up soon as well. But until then, could you tell us what you think about the future?
So the future's a tricky one. I live by this kind of principle that the present moment is where we can find like true happiness, because like the past and the future are just like manifestations of the mind. It's our imagination, and if we're like living in the past and going over and over like maybe our failures that didn't lead us to the success that we want, then we're torturing ourselves over a memory that's not perceived accurately. And it's the same with living in the future. It's good to have aspirations and goals. I think when it becomes toxic is when you romanticize the future and you tell yourself that that's where you're going to be happy, when you have X, Y, Z, you know, when you reach this number of subscribers, when you have that amount in the bank, or when you finally get that fancy car. And if you romanticize the future and tell yourself where that's going to be happy, where you're going to be happy, what are you doing? You're like missing out on your life right now. Like this is all that exists, this kind of moment that we're in. And so I live my life by setting present day goals and trying not to think about the future too much, because one thing that I've learned is that you just can't plan the future. You don't know what is going to happen. Each year I always surprise myself and be like, how have I done like that many things? Or I really didn't think I'd end up going to this place. I never thought I was going to be here. This is a complete surprise. So I think live day by day, set yourself present day goals, have aspirations, but don't compare yourself to the future you, because that person doesn't exist, you know? Mm-hmm. And they may never exist. Like, all you can focus on is you right now in this moment, and like, what can you do today to take yourself one step closer to your goal?
Yeah, so it's good to have lots of short-term in-the-day goals, like cooking a meal.
What works best for me, yeah.
I like that one. I need to start doing that more.
Cool.
Okay.
Are we going to answer some questions?
Are we ready for some questions?
I'm ready. I'm finding it really difficult to sit on this stool. Okay. What's the most difficult part of being a YouTuber? It's got to be the trolls, right? It's got to be the hate comments. I'm such a sensitive person. I'm sure you've had experience with this as well. It's like you can be like the most perfect person, and people will always find a way to tear you down. So I've had to definitely thicken my skin, and I always look at hate comments and be like, I feel more sorry for them, because they've obviously got so much like hate inside themselves, or they've got something that they're carrying with them that allows them to not be happy for other people. So I'm just wishing for them to find a place in themselves where they're happy, because when you're truly happy with yourself, you don't tear down other people, you know?
And it's sad, because they're sat in their bedroom in the middle of the night telling you look ugly, and it's like...
I know, it's like, okay, cool,
do you have nothing better to do?
Yeah. Okay, what makes you unique? Why are you an influencer and not others? So I think like my channel is quite niche in the sense that I talk about a lot of like philosophy and self-help, and I do a lot of travel. So I'm not like a beauty guru or like a lifestyle. I'm kind of just my brand like is me. So I think I wanted my channel to kind of be the gateway in between that kind of beauty and fashion world into like talking about philosophy and self-help, and maybe exposing people to those things that they wouldn't have found otherwise. So I think that's what makes me unique, and I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And
also the fact that you went for it. So many people have this idea and they never actually do anything about it. So the fact that at 13.
Yeah, you just have to go for it, don't you?
Yeah.
Live your best life. Okay. How did you convince yourself to take such huge risks?
Good one.
It was just like the desire, or like that fire inside me that told me that there was more to life, that I was meant for something bigger than what I was being told, you know, I was worth. So it's like you have to take that chance on yourself, and you have to, it's not about like proving people wrong, it's just like following your dream and like proving to yourself that you like are worthy and that you had it in you all along. Because if you don't take risks, then you never know. And for me, the never knowing is worse than the failing, because we've all like failed. Like I've had so many failures that have led me to where I am now, but you kind of like, it's a learning curve. Everything is a learning curve, and you just have to really go for it and trust yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Max said yesterday, the fear of regret, I think, is massive.
Yeah, and like earlier when I thought there was a possibility of me not being able to come out here and speak because I was so anxious. And I was just like, you came all this way. And like everyone here, I just want to say, like everyone, all the team has been like the most amazing, the way they've accommodated to me and like my anxiety, so I could come out here and speak and kind of share my message and hopefully inspire some people. Like, it's just been incredible, and everyone I met here so far is just like blown me away with like how kind, how generous, and how like, yeah, inspiring. I love this event so much.
We're so happy. We are so happy that you came back out, because I tell you what, a panic attack and anxiety is a really, really serious problem as well. I mean, and to pick yourself up after one, and to come out here, and the team were amazing, but you were amazing, and you are amazing, so that's absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for coming. Should we do another question?
Yeah, let's do it. Where would you like to work if the internet didn't exist? I think about this all the time, because I'm just like, what if we go back into the dark ages in the apocalypse and there's no internet? I'm like, what am I going to do? I need a backup plan. I think I would love to be like a dog sitter. I just love animals so much. I just like can picture me like walking like 10 dogs, and like that'd be my life. I'd be so happy. Just animals are the best therapy. So yeah, I'd probably work with animals. Yeah.
Do you know, that is not what I was expecting.
What were you going to think I'd say?
Don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Or maybe a magician, because I just love magic. I love like the art of illusion.
Well, maybe you can incorporate it into some videos. Dog sitting and magic. Maybe you could make a dog disappear.
Oh my god. The next YouTube video. Guys, look out for that on my channel.
Spoiler, she steals it. Okay.
And which one? What's been the best experience so far?
Unleash. What?
Oh, Unleashed, man. This has been amazing. This has been incredible. I think like the opportunity to travel with what I do, because travel is just my biggest passion. Like that original trip when I went by myself at 18, that got me hooked. Like I love that culture shock, and I love traveling new places and meeting new people. And so just the opportunity to do that, and like it's work, like it's just like find something that doesn't feel like work, and then you're living, I think, yeah.
It's surreal, right?
Cool. What's the first thing I think about when I wake up every morning? Probably food. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely not work. I ease myself into the day, you know? Start off with a good breakfast, maybe a little workout, some yoga, some meditation, and then I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? I go back and I write my little to-do list. Yeah. What do you tell yourself to persist even when other people disapprove? I think that like there's always going to be people who disagree with what you're doing or think you could be doing it better. So with that knowledge, you just have to live your life, you know? Like if I listen to all the people who told me like all the criticisms that I get, and not the constructive criticisms, because that's great, but just like the negative energy. If I listened to that, I would just be a shell of a human being. So yeah, you just have to tell yourself that you're enough, and just follow your passion. And I think everything always seems to work out when you believe that you're worthy. It's such a big step as well to take, because when I was a teenager, I was so insecure, and I would beat myself up about everything. I think it's like as well, like surrounding yourself with people who do believe in you, who genuinely support you and like love you. Like I've got the most amazing group of friends who like just genuinely love and support me. And I think like you have to separate yourself from people who aren't giving you that, and it's difficult. But if you know someone doesn't truly want you to be happy or to succeed, you just need to like get that negative energy out of your life, and it'll be better for both of you. So yeah, I think that's what I do. Okay, and how did you develop a professional career when it did not exist when you started? How do you continue growing? That's tricky, because like you never really know what's around the corner these days in technology, and like we are the millennial age. And so when I started my blog, I did it as a hobby and continue to do it as a hobby. And I think the way I kind of turned it into something that was making money was, the first step was opening up a business account. So if people could, like a business email account, so people could contact me, because people started reaching out on like other social medias and stuff, and I was like, oh, they want to send me free stuff, this is great. Oh, they want to give me money to like promote this, okay. So kind of asking advice for people who are already doing it. A lot of my closest friends are like in the same industry, so if I don't know what I'm doing, I'll just go and ask someone for help. So don't be afraid to ask for help and guidance from people who are starting out, people who are like in that industry. And yeah.
It's so important to have a good support network.
Yeah, it really is.
One piece of advice I got told by quite a big YouTuber the other day was, he was talking about the subject of what to do if you're quite young, especially if you're female as well, because sometimes you can be talking to big brands and they think they can get the better of you. One tip he had is to create a fake manager. So you create a new Gmail account with a pretend name, and they can say no and they can negotiate for you. Gets a bit awkward when you have to talk on the phone.
Oh my god,
yeah, can you imagine?
Deal with that one?
Put on the voice.
Yeah, so I'm like not with my management anymore. I made the decision to manage myself like maybe a year ago. But that was a really good starting point, and there's so many agencies and people who want to sign young talent. So like work on your craft first, whatever it is, and then find someone who's willing to back and support you and give you guidance, and that'll make the whole journey just so much easier if it's something that you want to do as like a career. Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, Mika, it was wonderful to hear from you. Thank you so much for coming out
here.
here.
Thank you so much. I'm so